In a picturesque city, there lived a woman named Kayameka. On the surface, her life seemed perfect. She resided in an upscale estate with her husband and drove a luxurious car, which was the envy of many. Her beauty and apparent wealth made her the subject of admiration among her neighbors. However, what they didn't know was that Kayameka's life was far from ideal. Beneath the facade of opulence, she was trapped in a life of hidden suffering. Everything she wore, from her clothes to her hair, were used gifts from friends who pitied her plight. Kayameka's existence was one of silent agony, masked by a veneer of affluence that fooled those who didn't truly know her. Kayameka came from a very poor family. She was the first child of Mr. and Mrs. Yuzo, who despite their poverty, had 8 children. The large family struggled daily to make ends meet. Among the siblings, Kayameka was the hope of the family. Her parents had sacrificed everything, selling their only land and belongings, to ensure she could go to university. They believed that her education would be the key to lifting the family out of poverty. Kayameka understood their sacrifices and worked hard, determined to honor their efforts and make something of herself. At the university, Kayameka was a dedicated and diligent student. She knew the weight of her family's expectations and made it her mission to excel. Her hard work paid off when she graduated with top honors. Her parents were overjoyed and immensely proud of her achievements. For Kayameka, the celebration was short-lived. She knew that the real challenge lay ahead. Her family's survival now depended on her ability to find a well-paying job and support her 7 siblings. The pressure was immense, and she felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. After graduating, Kayameka returned to her village to visit her family. The reunion was heartwarming, with her parents and siblings greeting her with joy. That evening, her parents sat her down to discuss the future. They reminded her of the sacrifices they had made and the expectations they had for her. Kayameka listened as her father spoke of their hopes for her to find a good job in the city, similar to what their neighbor's daughter had done. The conversation left Kayameka feeling overwhelmed, knowing that she had to leave the village and embark on a journey to secure her family's future. Early the next morning, Kayameka packed her bags and prepared to leave for the city. Her parents gave her their blessings, hopeful that she would succeed and bring prosperity to the family. As she boarded the bus, Kayameka felt a mix of emotions, fear, determination, and a sense of duty. She knew the path ahead would not be easy, but she was ready to face the challenges. Upon arriving in the city, she was greeted by her friend Oyin, who drove a luxurious car and lived in a beautiful mansion. Kayameka marveled at Oyin's apparent success, hoping that she too could achieve such a life. Oyin welcomed Kayameka into her home and helped her settle in. Kayameka was curious about Oyini's lifestyle and how she managed to amass such wealth in a short time. During dinner, Kayameka asked Oyin about her work and success. Oyin laughed and explained that her wealth came from her involvement with rich, older men who provided for her in exchange for companionship. She offered to introduce Kayameka to this lifestyle, but Kayameka declined, insisting that she couldn't compromise her values for money. Despite Oyin's persuasive arguments, Kayameka remained steadfast in her decision to find a respectable job. The next day, Kayameka set out to find a job. She submitted applications to various companies, attended interviews, and faced numerous rejections. Many employers made inappropriate demands, expecting her to sleep with them in exchange for employment. Kayameka was appalled and refused to compromise her integrity. Weeks turned into months, and despite her relentless efforts, she remained jobless. Her parents' constant calls for financial assistance added to her stress, but Kayameka was determined not to give in to the unethical advances she encountered. As time passed, Kayameka's situation grew more desperate. Her parents were becoming increasingly impatient, and she felt the weight of their expectations bearing down on her. One night, she received a call from the village informing her that her mother was gravely ill and needed urgent surgery. Kayameka was devastated, knowing she had no means to pay for the treatment. She cried through the night, feeling hopeless and trapped. The next morning, she approached Owen for help, but her friend refused, insisting that Kayamika needed to face reality and consider her offer. Left with no other options, Kayamika reluctantly agreed to Owen's suggestion. She met with a woman named Madame Sharp, a well-known matchmaker who connected young women with wealthy men. One evening, Kayamika received a call from a man named Chief Jimo, who invited her to meet at a luxury hotel. When she arrived, Kayamika found herself unable to go through with the arrangement. She knelt and pleaded with Chief Jimo, explaining her dire situation. Impressed by her honesty and moved by her plight, Chief Jimo decided to help her without expecting anything in return. He paid for her mother's surgery and even offered Kayamika a job in his company. With her mother's health restored, Kayamika began to build a new life. Chief Jimo, who had developed genuine feelings for her, treated her with respect and kindness. After several months, he proposed marriage. Although hesitant, Kayamika eventually accepted, hoping that her luck had finally turned. Their wedding was a grand affair, and Kayamika's parents were overjoyed. But soon after, Chief Jimo's true nature emerged. He became possessive and abusive, restricting Kayamika's freedom and cutting her off from friends and family. Her dream life turned into a nightmare. Isolated and trapped, Kayamika endured his cruelty for the sake of her children and the financial support he provided. Kayamika's life with Chief Jimo became unbearable. He restricted her movements, took away her phone, and isolated her from friends and family. The physical and emotional abuse escalated, and Kayamika felt trapped in a nightmare. Her family, benefiting from the money Chief Jimo sent them, refused to believe her cries for help and urged her to endure. Kayamika was left with no support system, her dreams shattered, and her spirit broken. She felt utterly alone, with no way out of her tormenting situation. Amidst the turmoil, Kayamika gave birth to twins. He became more abusive and indifferent, leaving home for days and returning inebriated. Kayamika's attempts to reason with him were met with violence. The once loving and generous man she felt for had transformed into a monster. Kayamika realized that she was in deeper trouble than she ever imagined. The joy of her children's birth was overshadowed by the relentless abuse and fear of her husband's unpredictable wrath. Desperate to protect her children, Kayamika sought help from her friend Owen. She pleaded for financial assistance to buy food for her starving kids. Owen, however, offered a different kind of help. She suggested that Kayamika return to Madame Sharp and find another man to sleep with for money. Kayamika was appalled by the suggestion, but the sight of her hungry children left her with no choice. The next day, she went to Madame Sharp, who arranged for her to meet another client. Kayamika knew she was crossing a line she vowed never to, but her children's needs outweighed her personal values. That evening, Kayamika went to the hotel room Madame Sharp had arranged. To her shock and horror, she found herself face to face with Jimo again. The confrontation was explosive. Jimo accused her of being a prostitute, and despite her attempts to explain, he beat her mercilessly and threw her out of their home, barring her from seeing her children. Kayamika wandered the streets, devastated and contemplating her next move. She had hit rock bottom, feeling utterly hopeless and fearing for her children's safety in the hands of their abusive father. As Kayamika wandered aimlessly, she was hit by a speeding car. The driver, a wealthy barrister named Obi, rushed her to the hospital. Kayamika remained unconscious for days, and when she finally woke up, she was confused and disoriented. The nurses explained what had happened, and soon after, Obi visited her. He listened to her tragic story and felt compelled to help her. Obi decided to take on her case, determined to see justice served. Kayamika's encounter with Obi marked the beginning of a glimmer of hope in her dark and tumultuous life. Obi immediately began working on Kayamika's case, suing Chief Jimo for domestic violence. The legal process was long and grueling, but Obi's dedication and expertise paid off. Chief Jimo was found guilty and sentenced to prison. Additionally, he was ordered to pay child support and damages. Kayameka was finally free from his clutches and regained custody of her children. She moved to a new apartment with the financial support from the court ruling. For the first time in a long while, Kayameka felt a sense of relief and security, ready to start anew and provide a better life for her kids. With the money from the child support payments, Kayameka was able to rent a decent apartment and start a small business. She worked tirelessly to make a living, ensuring her children were well cared for and received a good education. Despite the hardships she faced, Kayameka was determined to create a stable and loving environment for her family. She slowly began to heal from the trauma of her past and focused on building a future filled with hope and promise. Her resilience and strength inspired those around her, and she became a symbol of perseverance and courage. Oyen, seeing the damage she had caused, was racked with guilt. She regretted introducing Kayameka to the world of wealthy men and felt responsible for her friend's suffering. Oyen sought forgiveness and offered to help Kayameka in any way she could. Kayameka, who had always been compassionate, forgave Oyen. She understood that Oyen's actions were influenced by her own desperation and poor choices. Their friendship rekindled, and Oyen became a source of support for Kayameka, helping her with the business and caring for the children when needed. Oyen's health began to deteriorate rapidly. She had contracted an illness due to her lifestyle choices and knew her time was limited. On her deathbed, she confessed to Kayameka about her regrets and asked for her children to be taken care of. Kayameka promised to look after them, honoring her friend's last wish. Oyen's death was a poignant reminder of the dangers of the path she had chosen. Kayameka mourned the loss of her friend, but also felt a renewed sense of purpose. She vowed to protect her own children from the same fate and to guide them towards a better future. Obi continued to be a pillar of strength for Kayameka. He helped her expand her business, providing legal and financial advice. Over time, a deep bond developed between them. Obi admired Kayameka's resilience and compassion, while Kayameka was grateful for his unwavering support and kindness. Their relationship blossomed into love, and Obi proposed to Kayameka. Despite her initial hesitation due to her past experiences, Kayameka accepted, knowing that Obi was a man of integrity and honor. Their union marked a new chapter in her life, filled with hope, love, and stability. Kayameka and Obi's wedding was a beautiful and joyous occasion. Friends and family gathered to celebrate their union, and the event was filled with love and laughter. Kayameka's parents, who had initially been skeptical of Obi, were now overjoyed and proud of their daughter's resilience. They had witnessed her rise from the depths of despair to build a successful and happy life. The wedding was a testament to Kayameka's strength and determination, and it marked the beginning of a new, fulfilling chapter in her life. Kayameka and Obi settled into their new life together, blending their families and creating a harmonious household. Kayameka continued to grow her business, with Obi's support and encouragement. They worked together to ensure their children received the best education and upbringing. The challenges of the past had made Kayameka stronger, and she was determined to provide a loving and nurturing environment for her family. Obi's love and support were unwavering, and Kayameka finally felt at peace, knowing that she had overcome her past and built a bright future for herself and her children. With her business thriving, Kayameka turned her attention to giving back to the community. She started a foundation to help other women who had faced domestic violence and poverty. Her story inspired many, and she became a beacon of hope and empowerment for women in similar situations. The foundation provided resources, support, and education to help women rebuild their lives. Kayameka's efforts were widely recognized, and she became a respected figure in the community. Her journey from poverty and abuse to success and empowerment was a powerful testament to the strength of the human spirit. Kayameka's foundation also focused on the importance of education, particularly for young girls. She understood that education was the key to breaking the cycle of poverty and empowering the next generation. The foundation provided scholarships, mentorship, and resources to help young girls pursue their dreams.